I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about one of my most exciting and also at the same time most boring, or so it seems, products to release in quite some time, and that would be the Mistables line from Pink Paisley. Now I say boring because everything in here is white, cream, there might be a little black here and there, but it is utterly neutral. So while that's not generally the most exciting product for us, it actually is, because just like the name implies, these products are a completely blank canvas, so you can take them and use any medium you could think of, whether it be a mist or a stain or perhaps even an ink pad, depending on what you're working on. You could take any type of color and add it to this, which is going to be fantastic for a couple reasons. Number one, it gives you another way to use your mists and products that you already have. And number two, it extends the life of these specific products because they can be used with any line, any brand, anything, which makes these incredibly versatile and a really good buy. So I'm going to take a couple minutes here to walk you through some of the products, the ones that I have here, and show you what I'm liking about them. First, let's talk about the pattern paper. Now, it comes in a package that has 12 sheets. There are 6 designs, and you get 2 sheets of each design. And as you can see, they are text or otherwise very neutral, vintage-inspired designs. And the great thing that I can see is that they're very thick. They're sturdy. I'll use this one for an example. They're very, you'd really have to tear them, and you're not going to be able to see it very clearly, and except that in a moment here I'm going to show you. I'm just getting one of these pieces ready to work with. So it's a heavy duty, so I'm thinking that the mists and stains and things are going to hold up really well. I'm going to pick out, let's play with blue here, and this is a distress stain, and you can see, do you see how it's beating up? And I'm going to grab a tissue for you, but it's only coloring certain parts. Now let me just grab, let's see, let me just grab this and wipe off the excess, because the ink is not, the distress stain ink, it's not going to stick where the resist pattern is. And if you're familiar at all with the Tim Holtz resist papers or the Pink Paisley Parisian Anthology line that they did with House of 3, those are both great examples of a resist pattern where there is a design imprinted and it's shiny and clear. Okay, and you can see how it's shining. And it will resist most things. Now, it's not going to resist things like stays on ink or something that is designed to stick to a slick surface, but normal stuff, inks, mists, that kind of color washes, you're going to be able to use that. And what I'm really liking right off the bat here is you can see a little color got through where it was heaviest, but it's not curling or anything because this is such a heavyweight paper. It's really made for that kind of abuse, and I'm really liking how intricate this design is. And each one of the papers is a different pattern, but it also has a different design. And I'm showing you here, you can see in the light, you can kind of get a glimmer of that other pattern that's in there. And depending on the paper, here you can see that one really well. Depending on the paper, it kind of decides whether it's easy to see here or not. And that one's a beautiful, beautiful brocade pattern there. Okay, so that's a lot of fun. And you could color these to go with any project that you wanted, or you could color it multicolors. You could mist them so that colors was just in splotches. You could use like the distress stains with the foam pads to blend colors so that there's multiple colors. The possibilities here are so endless. I'm getting a little frazzled just by thinking about all the wonderful things I'm going to be able to do here. So that's great. I'm really excited about how thick those papers are. I'll look at here, I'll kind of look at all three because they're a similar material. These are all a fabric. And, to be perfectly honest, if you go down to the fabric store, you can buy a real expensive fabric and kind of do this kind of stuff yourself. The thing is, it would take you a lot of time and effort to make up a flower like this, or to stitch ribbon And these are 18-inch strips of pleated ribbon. And this one, you know, I'm not even entirely sure I could get this one done well, but this is a yard of each, and it's scalloped. And I will pull one off here to show you. Okay, it's scalloped, and isn't that lovely? So what you could do with these is the same as the paper. As far as how you would want to treat it, I'm actually going to take a, let's see, I'll use this one. I'm actually going to use this plastic packaging under here just so I don't get a mess all over. But what you can do, you could use an ink pad. You could just literally, let me grab one. Here's my Jenny Bolin and Spice tin. I could just literally rub an ink pad on here and it will color it. Now, if I wanted to dilute that, if I spray some ink here or excuse me, some mist and soak that up, and that is Perfect Pearls Mist in Biscotti that I put there. If I wanted to add a little shimmer, that would add a little shimmer to it. Now, you'll want to play around with your ink pads and some scrap first, because not all ink pads can do this, okay? Some ink pads, if you get them wet or you tried to do this, they might change colors or bleed in a way that's not attractive. But you can see how that looks. You could also, of course, if you have distress stain, I know I just did that article on those, you could just dab a bit of that distress stain on there and you would have color as well. Or, you know, there's so many different things you could do. You could use, if you don't have anything, you could use tea. You could put this in a cup of tea and tea dye it, or coffee stain it. Or you could use like distress stickles and glitterize it. I mean, whatever you'd like. It's just so cute that it's all scalloped and cut for me. I really love that. And the same methods could be applied to either of these. The flower, because of the way it is, I think a color wash or liquid like distress stain would be really great for these. Either that or using a mist and just really soaking it so that you could get through. Or if you don't want to soak it, you can always... Let's see, I'm going to use this one in Dusty Concord. You could always, if you were really light with it, you could just use an ink pad and kind of just get the edges on there if you wanted to do that as well. There are a lot of products in this line, and I certainly don't have all of them, but I do have a number of them. Here you see a chipboard letter and also a die cut tag, and both of these I just used the Spiced Marmalade Distress Stain on. Now, as far as stain versus mist versus other liquid mediums or ink pads, it's really going to be about your personal preference. Also, what do you have in your stash? I mean, there's some things that I have more mists of as far as color versus ink pads. It really just depends on what you have. Any of them will work. And as I've been sitting here experimenting, I'm having really good results with everything, not just mist. Okay, so I know this is, and what a cute name for it, called mistables, but you don't have to use mist. You can use whatever it happens to be that you've got that works. Now, obviously your preference for just color versus shimmer would come into consideration. Really, just whatever works for you and whatever colors you've got. The other thing you can look at too is you can always kind of blend things. So, for example, if I wanted to grab my foam here, if I wanted to blend in a little bit of brown onto this to kind of change the game here, make it so that it's not just orange, but it's got a little hint of darkness here. I kind of like that. Check that out. Cool, right? I know, I'm just, if you can hear my excitement here, you know, I purchased these products and got them in the mail, and I've been just dying to play with them, and I'm so excited to be playing now. So let's do one more thing here, and the last thing I want to show you, if I haven't just put it away, is that there is also a mask. And this pattern, I'm not entirely sure what you want to call it. I've heard it called kind of a lattice pattern, or, I mean, it just depends on who you talk to. But this pattern is really super trendy right now. It's showing up all over the place. And for this demonstration, I think I'm going to use my Studio Calico Mr. Huey in Piglet. And if you saw, I did a video on Crafters Workshop templates. And all of those same rules apply to this template. It's thin, it's plastic, you want to wash it after each use, and you definitely want to take care of it so that it doesn't get all yuck. And what I'm doing right now is, you'll notice it ends. So if you don't want to have a line right here, if you wanted to repeat the pattern, just cover up the edge so that it can't, so that the mist doesn't go over there. So if I cover the edge, and I'll just do just 1 or 2 squirts, doesn't need a ton. Unless, of course, if you want it to be a more solid color, I would really suggest, I think if I was going to do solid color, I would maybe suggest like a, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like doing a diluted paint or painting this on or something. I don't know that I'd try to get so solid with mist. I love that. So what I've done here, you can see I'm lining up the pattern because I want to make sure that it looks good. And then I'm repeating that same thing where I'm sticking this piece of plastic down there. And it's not, the piece of plastic's not 100%, but that's okay. So that's 1, 2, 4 squirts of mist total. And if I lift this up here, oh, it got a little darker on this side, but that's okay, since this is just a for example. But you can see what a cool pattern that is. And I did this on cardstock. You could certainly, let me see if I can find a piece willing to be a, here, we'll use this one. Okay, this is a pink paisley paper. And again, I would definitely wash that between uses, but let's see if we can get, okay, here we go. Whoops, and you see my spray's going all over the place. Don't do it like this. Cover it up, take the time. But I'm just trying to show you something here. You can see you could do it on pattern paper too. So you could add a whole nother layer of color. You could also, of course, this being a template like this, use it with glossy multi-medium and you would create your own resist pattern. How fun is that? Okay. I think that is about all I can come up with for the moment. Hopefully you enjoyed this walk through mistables. Check out the article there at scrapbookupdate.com to see a finished project that I've made with these products.